Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Elise, and I'm an astrologer in Toronto, Canada. And I'm sending this video out about our winter solstice conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn happening in 2 days' time. So this is a pretty exciting event, and everybody is talking about it. Now, I will review a little bit of the basics for those of you who haven't had a lot of exposure to this, but what I want to do with this talk is not go over the same stuff everybody else is talking about. I want to try and contribute a little bit of something maybe a little bit more novel or just my own perspective anyway. Okay? As we can get information overload at this time, especially when something this significant is happening. So the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn essentially means that these two planets are coming together into alignment at 0 degrees of Aquarius. They're coming so close together, apparently, and I'm not an astronomer, but I've read this, that they have not been this close in alignment since the year 1623. Okay, the other thing that astrologers are really talking about is the fact that Jupiter and Saturn, when they come together, they have this approximately a 200-year pattern where they will join together and they will combine, they'll become conjunct once every 20 years. So this is sort of like a repetitive flow. They come together once every 20 years. And for approximately 200 years, they will come together every 20 years in the same elemental sign. So they will cycle through earth, fire, air, and water every 200 years. And it really demarcates a collective evolutionary theme that happens over that 200-year period. We're just coming out of a 200-year period with the exception of one alignment in I think 1980, 81, which was in air, was in Libra. But other than that, I believe that the last 200 years approximately have been in earth signs. So what's being talked about in that respect is the fact that the last 200 years have really culturally shown this massive movement toward consumerism and materialism and overuse of our material resources and concrete science, practicality, all of this stuff, very earthy, structured, real, grounded evolution, right? And I mean, if you just look around us today and you think about life here on this planet 200 years ago, you wouldn't recognize it, right? The resource boom has allowed us to experience wealth that was unthinkable 200 years ago for the majority of people. Only the great elite could imagine having such comfortable lives. So it's been a wonderful cycle, and Jupiter and Saturn together, they do create our culture. Jupiter rules the vision. Jupiter is the truth. Jupiter, as ruler of Sagittarius and the 9th house in the birth chart, rules that expanded, intuitive, visionary truth that we're all abiding by. It rules almost like our code of conduct or our religion or our belief. And then that belief becomes manifest, right? Becomes manifest by Saturn. So Saturn rules Capricorn. So Jupiter rules Sag and Saturn rules Capricorn, 9th house, 10th house. So our belief becomes our culture, correct? Our belief becomes our society. We build according to what we believe is true or what our great expanded vision is for all of us. So when Saturn and Jupiter come together, that's exactly what's happening. We are receiving a vision, we're receiving a big piece of information, like a big truth, and we are then taking that expanded vision and we are bringing ourselves down into the Saturnian consciousness, and we are structuring it, or we're building it, and we're reforming what has been in order to afform or affirm the new truth that we're all agreeing to, or that is coming through collectively. Okay, does that make sense? So Jupiter is the expansive vision, Saturn is the work that has to go into making that so. And it's the renovation that has to happen, because Saturn has to restructure a lot of stuff in order to make that vision come to form. Correct? It has to go in, it has to move this wall over there, and we're going to tear down that room, and we're going to move this over here. So it's a lot of hard work. My teacher, Alan Oken, calls the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction the cosmic accordion, because it's this expanded state and contracted state simultaneously, right? So when we're sitting at the solstice in 2 days, and now as well, because Jupiter and Saturn are within 1 degree conjunct right now, so we're all feeling this. We're feeling this expansion and this contraction simultaneously. And what I've been really noticing for me is that I will go into the expanded state and I will get really high, and I'll feel very intellectually clear and very, very detached and in this kind of higher mind space. And then I will fall down and I'll retract or I'll contract. And when I do the contraction, what's happening is I'm coming into the form, and I'm trying to renovate or change whatever is holding me back from being in that expanded state, or like embodying that expanded vision. And so I've had a few days of kind of going up and down, and it hasn't been super comfortable, but I don't think Saturn and Jupiter coming together is very comfortable. I think it's not supposed to be comfortable, right? But I think that the key to working with this energy is to recognize that both are happening at the same time. So you don't have to get stuck in one or the other. We can just witness what's happening, right? We can witness the expanded state of understanding what the bigger picture is, and understanding what our new truth is and what we want to create in our life. And then we can also understand that there are changes that are required in order to bring that higher vision into being. So we can hold the expansion and the contraction simultaneously, and be nice to ourselves in this process of feeling the pull between these two states. Okay, so that's a little bit of advice for the next couple days for you guys. Now next I want to address something that people are talking about quite a lot, and I've heard this from some pretty remarkably brilliant astrologers, that this is the gate to the new age, that this is literally the moment in time when we are crossing this incredible divide into the Aquarian age. And I have to say that, I don't know enough to be able to wholeheartedly agree with that. I know that we are getting there, and I know that Pluto will be entering Aquarius in about 4 years, and that is going to be a big shift for us collectively. I know that we've been unpacking the patriarchy, and that we're sitting on the precipice of making some pretty significant changes to our collective. So I do recognize and acknowledge that, but I don't think I can objectively say whether or not this moment of time is the jumping off into the Aquarian age, because there are so many theories out there. There are so many people who say so many things, and all I really know is what I know. So what I wanted to offer today is I wanted to offer what I know and what I've seen and what I've been shown. And I figure, because we're entering into the age of Aquarius, one of the most important things, one of the most important principles of this era is going to be having your own strong sense of individuated self, having a very strong line of your own inner truth and your own inner purpose, right? Leo, being able to creatively actualize your own self, your own beauty, your own specialness, and then inputting that into the collective field. That is the meaning of Aquarius, right? Aquarius is the socialized form of Leo. So I want to share with you what my truth is, because it was something that was very generously given to me when I was younger, and it's become a guiding principle of my life. And I believe that it was information about this time that we're heading into and that we're in right now. So what happened when I was 21 is I went through a pretty massive awakening that I didn't really talk to a lot of people about. I didn't say anything about it at all, actually. Some teachers came to me at that time who were very caring and very generous and very gentle with me, and so I had a pretty strong container, and I had a pretty deep spiritual practice, and I was very devoted to that, and I made sure that I was living in a sense in integrity, and I worked very hard at that. But during this time, like, it was pretty significant. And I had, like, I went multidimensional. I had, memories, and I anyway, I'm not going to talk about it, but what I'm going to talk about is one of the experiences I had toward the end of this period of time, when I was given a vision of what humanity is going through right now. And at the time, I didn't really understand the meaning of the vision. I didn't really understand the purpose of it, or even, how significant it was at the collective level. I received it and was grateful, but I just kind of got on with my life, right? And only 25 years later, am I able to now understand what that vision meant, and why it is so integral, and why it has been so important to my life, and why it is so important for all of us, because of the principles that were shared with me. So this is what happened. I was taken out of the kind of like the Earth. I was taken out of the orbit of the Earth, and I was in my light body, an energetic frequency. I was just energy. And I was over the Earth, so I was looking down at the planet. It wasn't necessarily three-dimensional, though. You have to. I was in a spiritual form, so when I say looking down at the planet, I don't think I was actually at a three-dimensional geographical place in space, but I was at a dimensional place where I could still have information given to me about the planet. So I'm looking down at the planet, and there was a being with me that was guiding me or teaching me. And the being showed me the following vision. The being showed me that, there are billions of people on this earth, and each one of them has a central core axis of light that runs up the center of their body, right out the top of their head and right out the bottom of their root. And I was shown that this divine line, which is what I've come to call it, for whatever reason, this line of integrity is our divine essence. It's what we are as unique individuals. And I was shown that the majority of people on the planet get broken between the solar plexus and the heart. So there's like this break in most people's spines where they kind of get like this, and that blocks the energy flow, and it keeps them in a lower state of consciousness, which is focused below this part of the body. So when they're focused down here in the lower chakras, I was shown that people act from places of fear, greed, shame, hate, and that is what creates disparity on the planet, because people are broken out of their divine line. And then I was given this sort of utopic vision of what would happen if everybody stood up and just aligned with that divine line. And I was shown that immediately what would happen is every resource on the planet would be completely rebalanced, and that every single human being on the earth, regardless of our population, would have exactly what they need. And I was given this image of what it would mean to be in absolute impeccable spiritual economic alignment. And I was shown that there is never any lack here. There is never any disparity, that is a lie. That is a lie that we perpetuate because we can't stand up and take responsibility for who we are. And this was a very powerful vision. So if in of itself that could be all that I got, I would be pretty grateful, right? That was pretty significant for me. But there was more. I was then turned, or this was my experience of it anyway. I experienced being turned and faced out into the universe. Okay, so I'd been looking at the planet and now I was facing out into the universe. And what I perceived was that our universe, I guess it was a universe, I don't exactly know what it was, but I saw this gigantic figure eight, a gigantic figure eight. And it felt like, or what I perceived, was that our place in the solar system, or our solar system in the universe, something, I don't know if this figure eight was the solar system or the universe, I don't know. But whatever it was, the place where we are as Earth was coming into the center of the figure eight, that point where the two loops meet. And I watched as though a movie were unfolding before me. I watched the Earth enter into this empty space, this noosphere, this void zone of empty nothingness in between these two giant circles. And I saw it almost like this massive cosmic dance, like so much material was being pushed through and coming through in this alignment. And as we entered this no zone, I called it a no zone, whatever that means. I don't know where that came from. A no zone. There were all these beings. I saw them literally jumping off the planet as though they were going into a dimensional gate. They were leaving. And the information was, those are the jumpers. You are meant to stay. And like this, whatever was with me was like, you will stay. You are not a jumper. But it was so cool to see them. They looked like fleas, like little cosmic fleas, kind of using the opportunity to kind of get off the planetary sphere or something, or maybe get out of this dimension. I don't even know. But anyway, the next thing that I saw was that as we came out of the no zone and we were moving toward the other loop, there was this dawning, there was this light, this energy that was, I've never experienced anything like it, except for in moments of time where I have experienced like source unification. Like if I've had some moments where I've like almost kind of connected with source so much that it felt like so beautiful, right? And so big, the love was so big. This felt even more than that. This was even bigger than that. This was like a dawning, and the light was literally dawning. It was the dawning of the new age. And I was given the information that we are coming into a new cycle of evolution on this other half of this lemniscat. Lemniscat is another word for figure eight. It's a little bit, a little bit fancier. So we were coming into the second half of the lemniscat. And then that was the end of the vision. Okay, so fine, fast forward 25 years, and I have been able to piece together a lot of different places and sources, mythology from indigenous tribes, from the Vedic scriptures, all sorts of things, the Mayan calendar, all of it. And it seems to support what I was seeing, what I was shown, right? That there is this great turning, or there is this evolutionary change point that we're all heading into. And there's this great awakening that's happening on the planet. Now, so when I say I can only offer you what I know, that's kind of what I know. That was the gift that was given to me that's, basically formed the underlying mission statement of my life, or the underlying principles by which I live in my life. But what does that actually mean? I don't know, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of living through it like everybody is. And so when I was about 35 and I was kind of going through a second sort of awakening, and I was returning to astrology and I was returning to more esoteric studies, I found a teacher who became my teacher. And when I first read his words, I'm going to get all teary-eyed. When I first read his writing, I felt like I was reading someone who understood my soul, right? He's put words to what my soul knew to be true. So I kind of glommed on there for a good 15 years to this guy and his work. And I've voraciously studied just about everything that Alan Oken has ever done, because I really believe that he's tapped into some very significant esoteric truth, esoteric wisdom, and I love his language. It makes my soul sing. So he's a real teacher for me. And he wrote a beautiful book, which is a Bible of mine, called Soul-Centered Astrology. He is an esoteric astrologer, but he's also kind of an exoteric astrologer. He combines them. And this book is remarkable. If any of you are interested in astrology, I highly recommend this as part of your collection. One of the chapters in the book, quite at the beginning, is he goes through the principles of the New Age. Okay, so I don't know what this means, but I am going to read these to you. And these are Alan Oken's, this is Alan Oken's material, and he's an Alice Bailey scholar. Alice Bailey was an astrologer at the turn of the century who channeled a Tibetan master named Dwal Kul. And she channeled a whole whack of extremely advanced esoteric mystery books. So really like challenging to understand, right? You need to be a highly academic and organized thought process to get it. And that's what Alan's like. I mean, he speaks, I don't know how many languages, like fluently, and he's a brilliant academic. So he's extremely smart. And this book was a dissemination of a lot of the Bailey material put into real words, like words that we can understand, right? And because I'm not an academic and I don't have time to study Alice Bailey. So I'm assuming, without knowing, that these principles of the New Age are coming from her, from that lineage, okay? So this is kind of cool. What does the New Age mean? What does the age of Aquarius mean? Okay, so the first principle of the New Age is the principle of right human relations. Okay, now let's think about Aquarius as an archetype. Aquarius rules the collective, right? It rules the group. And if we are within the group, we need to behave ourselves. Right human relations is a posture that the Buddhists do really well with. And it's the posture of do no harm. Do no harm. But it's not that simple, right? I mean, we've had the golden rule on this planet for thousands of years, and it certainly hasn't done any good for us. It's not simple to do no harm, because what you have to realize is that the way you treat yourself is the way you treat others. And the way you treat others is the way you treat yourself. And so to do no harm, to have right human relations, takes an exquisite amount of self-discipline and self-awareness, right? To know that we have to be so responsible for being the best self that we can be. And I believe that, how that equates to the vision that I had is that, coming into alignment means lifting up out of the lower self, connecting the third and fourth chakra, and elevating into higher mind and higher frequency, coming from the heart, right? Another thing that Alan has graciously taught me is that the heart rules the human kingdom, and the lower three chakras rule the mineral, the vegetable, and the animal kingdom. So it makes sense that when we're broken between the third and fourth chakra, we are locked into an animalistic way of thinking. Generally, it's ruminatory, drama, trauma, right? And we will perpetuate self-harm and harm of others. So in the New Age, what's very important for us to do is to learn how to stand up on our divine line and live from that place alone. And it's only from when we're in our heart, when we're really centered in our heart, when we're really authentically integrated and really taking responsibility for who we are. And that's at all levels. That's mental, emotional, and physical, and spiritual. That's when we can be in right human relations. And as an astrologer said to me just the other day, I was having a reading with him, and he said to me, "You don't think you have to be perfect before you go into a relationship, do you?" And a part of me was like, yeah, I do. But the truth is we don't. We don't have to be perfect before having human relationships. But one of the principles that we're coming into is this principle of understanding that we need to create right human relationships, right? And we might not get it right away, but it's something that's going to be a guiding force for the next many hundreds of years, many thousands of years, okay? The next law of the New Age is the principle of goodwill. Now, the principle of goodwill, for goodwill is essentially the will to do good. There are many ways that we can use our will. Our will is our essence, right? Our will is what we are. And we can use our will to harm, and we can use our will to help. And again, this is very tied to right human relations, isn't it? Because when our will is coming, when we're in our heart, and we truly actually care about making this place better, we are willing that to happen. So we are doing things, we are expanding, we are extending ourselves in a way that will help rather than harm. And this is a way that, if we don't have that alignment, right? If we don't have the connection between our lower and higher self, what we will is often very self-serving, which is okay as well. I think there's a place for both, but to really authentically want the best for all of us would be a significant improvement over the current zeitgeist. I mean, just consider for a moment how we would use resources on this planet differently if we all had will to good as our principle, as our abiding principle. So this is a wonderful one that I think we will hopefully come into. The next one is called the law of group endeavors. And Aquarius rules group and group endeavors. Many coming together to act as one is essentially what this means, through mutual respect, love, and cooperation. And within the group, this is very important, we are allowed to be our unique selves, and then and also to contribute that unique self to the collective. And if you can see over the last couple of decades, the amount of permission that we have given to people to be who they are, right? I'm thinking, the LGBTQ community right now, and the rights that they have fought for in the last few decades to stand up and be counted, right? Or the women's movement, or the Black Lives Matter movement. Whatever the case may be, we all have a right to be who we are. No one can take that away from us. However, we are also all part of a group. None of us can live in isolation. So group endeavors are going to become something really important and powerful to get a handle on in this new age of Aquarius. Because what happens when we're not strong, when we're not in our own divine line, when we're broken and our ego is not strong, we can get caught up in group dynamics that are harmful for us. And that's where you get cults, or that's where you get yourself giving your power away to the group. Group think and group control is not what the new age is about, but it's a shadow of Aquarius, because Aquarius is very, very strong. And the power of the group is very, very strong. I mean, think about the Chinese Revolution, think about Pol Pot in Cambodia, think about Hitler in Germany. There is a power to the group, right? And there is a power in uniformity as well. And that leads into the next law, which is the law of unanimity. And this one's really interesting. I like this one a lot, because uniformity is not the same as unanimity. Uniformity is what we find in Capricorn. It's what we find with Saturn. One form. We will all do it the same way. You must listen to the group. You must follow the rules. The rules matter more than anything, right? This is the form. But Aquarius is about breaking that form. It's about not necessarily following the old guard or the old rules. It's about breaking out and aligning with something more soulful. Unanimity, una means one, and anima means soul. Unanimity means one soul. Recognizing that we are a collective, all of us together, we are one soul. And so we can work together for the benefit of all. And it's a different energy than uniformity, which says, no, you must conform to the group standards. Unanimity says, I am within the group myself. I can shine and also have the best in mind. But it doesn't take away from diversity, right? Unanimity honors diversity. So it's a very subtle difference. And I believe this is going to be something that we are watching very carefully in the next 2 years with Uranus squaring Saturn. I think this is going to be a theme is, you know, command and control versus unified consciousness. So, you know, as we're visioning at our solstice point, like really imagining the the soul that we are, and like imagining yourself being ensouled, and imagining the collective and the high side of this change. Imagine all that could be, right? Rather than the, you know, anyway, I'm going to leave that. I think you guys get it. So this leads beautifully into the next law, which is the law of spiritual approach. And spiritual approach is about, like my vision suggested, honoring that vertical line versus the horizontal. So honoring that we are all a part of the divine plan, and that each one of us is an expression and an extension of God's love, and that each one of us is beautiful and whole and worthy and valuable just because we are. And that is a principle that if we follow day to day, we can't not but line into this collective in a positive way, because it's taking responsibility for the divine line and for a spiritual approach to living, not a religious approach to living, not a dogmatic approach to living, not a controlling approach to living, not an I'm right or you're wrong or I found the truth and you don't know it. A spiritual approach honors yourself and your connection to God. And that is the primary place where we find and source our wisdom, right? We can learn from each other and we help each other, but we should only help empower each other. We shouldn't control each other. So the law of spiritual approach is about learning how to live in alignment and learning how to honor your heart, your soul, and really live from that place. Like really make sure that it matters to you, like really honoring it. It's absolutely essential. The last principle is the principle of essential divinity. And I want to talk a little bit about this one because I have a bit of a different idea about this than Alan, actually. We all have differences, right? I'm going to share my difference. Now, when he talks about the principle of essential divinity, he starts off, and I agree, everything is sacred. It's the concept that God is in everything, right? There's no separation. We have an illusion of separation in this dimensional reality, but it's not true. We come here to explore separation and to have a good time being a human, but there is really no separation. In fact, you know, this candle is just as much God as this cup of kombucha. So that's it. There is God in everything. And I believe that when we start to understand essential divinity and we start to realize that all things are sacred, like everything, all of life is connected, everything is God. And that there's almost this like shift that happens where we start to understand that like the way we tread upon this earth is sacred. The way we treat this earth is sacred, and the way we treat ourselves is sacred, that our bodies are sacred. And I see the principle of essential divinity as being the awakening of the feminine, because what's happened in the era of Pisces is we've been trying to get out, right? It's been a hierarchical era of trying to get out and find God up there somewhere. But this is God, all of it. You know, the animistic religions and the shamanistic religions understand this. The indigenous religions understand this. They understand that there is all things and all things are sacred, that they're all an expression of the divine, and that we can be in communion and in communication, that we can live sustainably on this earth, that we can honor the sacredness of our vessel and our beauty and our body, that sex itself is a sacred act, that we are sacred, like that there is nothing that is not holy. There is nothing that is not worship. There is nothing that doesn't matter. And we cannot continue to treat each other and our resources and our planet and our home as if it doesn't matter. It's absolutely abhorrent. So that to me is what the principle of essential divinity is. He goes into a few other areas with it, but I'm not really gonna kind of discover. I'm not going to explore them with you. If you want to get this book, which I highly recommend doing, you can read all about it. Okay. I just wanted to give you kind of an outline of where I believe we're going, and that this gate that's happening in 2 days. I mean, it's not a panacea. Like, we have so much work to do, and I think that this is what this gate is also showing us. That's what the point of the Jupiter Saturn conjunction is that we can have this utopic dream or this great grand vision, but we all have to honor the fact that this will require a lot of effort. This will require work and focus and discipline. That's just life, right? That's Jupiter, that's Saturn. So as we come into this solstice, what I am going to do with this solstice is I am going to ask the following question. I'm going to ask, what is the guiding principle? What is the greater truth? What is the vision that is awaiting me, that is kind of trying to be born of me? What is my truth, my vision? And what is the vision of the collective that I want to contribute to? So what is the greater vision, the collective vision? And then within that questioning, I also want to ask, what are the changes, or what are the ways that I can take responsibility for myself and my life and my actions and my efforts so that I can help that vision be true? And that's it. And that's going to be the underpinning of my ceremony on Monday. And if you want to take that as well as an invitation to your own ceremony or an invocation for your own ceremony, please, you are welcome. I offer it to you. Anyway, as I offer you this video, and I hope this was useful to you, I hope you learned something, and I hope most of all that it simply inspired your own inquiry, because I know that the truth is within you and it is within each of us. And that the most important thing as we move into the era of Aquarius is that we connect to that essential divinity within us, and that we live from that place of sacredness so that we can treat each other with care and respect, and so that we can make this place a heaven rather than, well, anyway, so that we can make this place amazing, because I know it can be. I've seen it. Okay. God bless. Thank you so much for your attention.